I'm Dana. Standing in the middle of my once beloved living room, the silence is a heavy blanket. The air is still, and there are no longer any unfamiliar footsteps or the faint trace of perfume. The furniture is right where I left it, and for the first time in what feels like an eternity, I can breathe. But my mind drifts back to that fateful day when everything started to fall apart. It was a rainy evening. I pushed open the front door, and the sharp smell of paint hit me like a punch before I even had a chance to drop my bag. I'd just finished a grueling 12-hour shift at the diner on Elm Street. My shoes were damp from the outside rain, and my arms ached from the long day's work. But what I saw in my bedroom made all the physical pain vanish in an instant, replaced by pure disbelief. Two painters in overalls were working on the walls I'd painted a soft pink just a few months ago. My floral curtains were crumpled on the floor, splattered with white paint. The dresser I'd lovingly sanded and refinished on weekends was pushed to the center of the room, already marked with streaks of paint. I gasped, and my breath caught in my throat. My cousin, Lily, leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, wearing that smug smile I knew so well. "Oh, Dana," she said casually, "you're home early. We're just doing some renovations before we move in. Thought we'd surprise you." Her tone was as nonchalant as if she were talking about the weather, as if this house were hers to do with as she pleased. I felt my legs go weak. This house had been my dream, my proof that years of hard work and sacrifice meant something. I'd worked long hours at the diner, saving every penny I could. After each shift, I'd collect my tips, count out the change from the register, and put whatever was left into a small envelope hidden in my old closet. I'd grown up in a small, dysfunctional family. My parents were always arguing, and money was tight. My father was a hot-tempered man who couldn't hold down a job, and my mother was constantly stressed, trying to make ends meet. I'd made a promise to myself that I'd break free from that cycle, and when I turned 25, I finally bought this little bungalow on the outskirts of town. It wasn't much, with 2 small bedrooms and a tiny yard, but it was mine, paid for with every hard-earned dollar. After that initial shock, Lily started showing up more often. She'd come without warning, as if she had every right to invade my space. At first, she'd bring a cup of coffee or a small bag of groceries, acting all sweet and caring. But her words would always turn sharp. One Saturday, as I was working on the half-painted trim, she said, "You're only 26, Dana. You're too young to handle all this. Houses are money pits, and you have no idea what you're getting into." I wanted to tell her about all the long hours I'd worked, about how I'd walked home in the rain to save on bus fare, but instead, I just stared at the chipped paint on my brush and wondered if she was right. Her husband, Tom, was even worse. He'd strut into the living room and announce, "This place would run better if we helped manage it. You've never owned a property before. You'll make mistakes, and we can save you from that." I forced a laugh, but inside, I felt a sense of dread. Their visits left me feeling like I was no longer in control of my own home. One Friday night, when I came home from the diner, I noticed that the couch was in a different position. It was facing the window instead of the TV. A stack of my cookbooks was neatly arranged on the coffee table. At first, I thought I was just tired and had moved them myself. But the next morning, the kitchen confirmed my worst fears. My spices were reorganized into matching jars, and my pots were moved to higher cabinets. Even my coffee mugs, each with its own little chip and a story, were stacked in the wrong order. The air smelled faintly of Lily's expensive perfume. I remembered that a couple of weeks ago, she'd asked to borrow my keys to get something from her car. She must have copied them then. When she came by the next weekend, she was all smiles. "You really should let me help you keep this place organized. It's too much for you alone," she said as she wandered into the kitchen and picked up my phone. She tapped and swiped for a long time, and when I asked what she was doing, she just laughed and said, "Don't be paranoid, Dana. You're so uptight about your things." After that, I stopped trusting my own memory. Every morning before going to work, I'd take pictures of how the furniture was arranged, where the coffee mugs were, and how my shoes were lined up by the door. At night, I'd compare the pictures to what I found when I got home. Sometimes, nothing had changed, but other times, a book would be missing from the shelf or the curtains would be tied differently. I wrote it all down in a small notebook I kept under my mattress. One evening, after a double shift at the diner, I confided in my co-worker, Mia. We were wiping down the counters when I finally told her, "My cousin's been in my house when I'm not there." She copied my keys. Mia's eyes narrowed. "Dana, that's not just family drama. That's trespassing. You need to get someone on your side." I shrugged, feeling embarrassed. Who's going to believe me? It's just her word against mine. But Mia wasn't one to give up easily. The next day, she scribbled a name and number on a napkin. Mr. Thompson, a housing lawyer in the city. My friend used him when her landlord was being shady. "Call him," she said. I tucked the napkin into my pocket, turning it over in my fingers all shift. The idea of involving a lawyer made my stomach knot, but it also felt like a glimmer of hope. That night, Mia surprised me again. She gave me a small brass keychain with the word boundaries etched on it. "Put your house key on this," she said. "So every time you use it, you remember whose lock it really is." I clipped my key onto it and slipped it into my pocket, holding it like a talisman. A few days later, on a gray Sunday afternoon, there was a pounding at my door. I opened it to find Lily on the porch, 2 large suitcases at her feet, and her 2 kids fidgeting behind her. Tom stood at the bottom of the steps, arms crossed. "We need to move in," Lily announced, pushing past me as if the decision had already been made. "The landlord gave us 3 days to leave. We have nowhere else to go." I blocked her path. "This is my house. You can't just show up and decide you're moving in." Her smile faded, and her voice turned cold. "Dana, don't be selfish. We're family. You have 2 bedrooms, and the kids need a roof over their heads. Are you really going to turn them away?" The kids shifted uncomfortably, sensing the tension. I took a deep breath. "I'm not turning them away, but you can't move in here. There are other options. You can ask Tom's family for help." Lily's voice rose, and she started shouting, "After all I've done for you, you're slamming the door on your own family." Neighbors started to peek out of their windows. My face burned, but I stood my ground. "You've crossed too many lines already. This is my home, and I won't let you take it." For the first time, I saw a flicker of doubt in her eyes. She grabbed one of the suitcases and motioned for Tom and the kids to follow. "This isn't over," she hissed as she walked down the steps. 2 days later, she showed up again, this time with a stack of folded papers. "Look," she said sweetly, "I just want to clear things up." I unfolded the papers and saw printed screenshots of text messages with my phone number. They said things like, "Come live with me, Lily. The house is too big for one person. Bring the kids. We'll figure it out together." My throat went dry. "These aren't mine," I said. She tilted her head, feigning pity. "You must have forgotten. You've been so stressed at work. People make mistakes." Then she showed me receipts for a new bedroom set, a TV, and kitchen appliances, all charged to my bank account. "You're welcome. I made improvements that benefit us all," she said. After she left, I sat at my kitchen table, looking at the evidence of a life I never agreed to. I started to doubt myself. Had I been careless with my phone? Had she guessed my password? Rumors started to spread among my neighbors and co-workers. People started to ask if I was okay, saying that Lily had told them I was forgetful. I knew I had to do something. I took the forged texts and receipts to Mr. Thompson. He was a calm, gray-haired man who studied the papers carefully. "These messages aren't real," he said, pointing to the inconsistencies. "The metadata shows they were generated by an app. If she tries to use these in court, we can prove they're fake." He also told me to document everything: photos, dates, times, and witnesses. And he said to change my locks immediately. That night, I barely slept, imagining Lily slipping into my house with her copy of the keys. The next morning, Mia's brother, Jake, came with a toolbox. He worked quickly, replacing all the locks on the front door, back gate, and side entrance. When he handed me the new brass keys, I felt a sense of control return. "You'll want 3 sets," he said. "One for you, one for a safe place, and one for someone you trust." I put one on the keychain Mia had given me. But Lily wasn't done. The next morning, there was a knock on the door, and 2 police officers stood on the porch. Lily was behind them, holding a folder and looking triumphant. "We've received a complaint," one of the officers said. "Your cousin claims you're holding her belongings and preventing her from accessing the property." Lily stepped forward and showed them the same forged messages. I was shaking, but I managed to say, "Those are fake. This house is mine, and I never gave her permission." I fetched the folder I'd prepared, with the deed in my name, photos of the furniture being moved without my consent, and my notebook full of details. The officers looked skeptical, but then Mr. Thompson arrived. He examined the papers and said, "This is a fabrication. The metadata proves it was generated by a third-party app. If this goes to court, she could be prosecuted for forgery." The officers stiffened. One of them turned to me and asked, "Do you want these items removed from the house under our supervision?" "Yes," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. For the next hour, Lily and Tom carried their suitcases and boxes out of the house. The bedroom set they'd bought with my stolen money was taken away piece by piece. When the patrol car finally drove away, the silence in the house was a relief. In the following days, I worked with Mr. Thompson to file a restraining order. It was a long and exhausting process, but I signed each page with determination. Jake came back to install small cameras by the front door and back gate. Watching the screens on my phone gave me a sense of security. Mia came by with bags of potting soil, and we planted daisies and lavender along the walkway. As I knelt in the dirt, pressing the roots into the ground, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. This was my home, and I was going to protect it. Now, standing in this quiet house, I look at the brass keychain hanging on the kitchen wall. The word boundaries shines against the paint. I've learned that independence isn't just about owning a house, it's about standing up for what's mine, again and again.